Hi everyone, I'm Anisha. Welcome to my channel on astrology and tarot. For those of you who are seeking deeper clarity, be it in your love life or your career, for a personal consultation, you may write to me at tarotbyanisha@gmail.com. Sagittarians, welcome to your annual 2022-23 horoscope forecast. We have another intense year ahead. For those of you who follow astrology, you must have been reading a lot about the Pluto return. And what that simply means is that Pluto is returning to its stage of inception. The way that we have individual charts, even nations have their astrological charts. And this is specifically true in the case of Pluto return, and it is moving back to where it was born in United States. And the theme pretty much for this entire year and the coming years is going to be global and political power restructuring. Also, because Pluto, the house in which it is transiting, or rather it is returning, is the house of it's a house of income, it's a house of self-worth, it's a house of values. So everything around it is going to get activated. Now, we are in the midst of Pluto return, and it completely gets actualized on the February 22nd. However, Pluto, since it moves so slowly, it takes about 248 years to complete one revolution around a zodiac. So its return is a process that some astrologers believe takes about a decade or maybe a couple of them. But I personally believe that the rumbling of the Pluto return started around 2008, and that's the time when Pluto entered Capricorn. We are pretty much in the midst of what we astrologers call as a Pluto return. It's the place in the cosmos where the planet returns as to where it occupied at the nation's inception. So for United States, in the astrological chart of United States, it was which is cast for the signing of Declaration of Independence in 1776. The planet Pluto sits in what we call as the second house, which I just described right now. So as per the Greek mythology, the house of, or rather Pluto, the lord of underworld, of power, of life after death, is pretty much activating our sense of self. It also sits in the sign of Capricorn, which in my view doubles the theme of rather worthiness for this year for us. And Capricorn is the sign of sea goat, that mythological creature that can climb any mountain, it can cross any sea in its quest to succeed. And often when we have planets in the second house in the sign of Capricorn, and especially when one of those planets happens to be Pluto, we are dealing with a shadow self who believes that it must work in order to prove its worth. Believing that it is not enough already, it finds itself in circumstance after circumstance that demands that it pay a price for something that it actually already knows, until something comes along and breaks this vicious cycle and raises our collective sense of consciousness. Now let's talk about Pluto, and I would like to give a context over here because it's very important to know as to why there is so much of trepidation around Pluto return, and why is it that we as individuals need to be paying more heed as to what is it that Pluto return, or the planet Pluto, who it is, and what would be the effects of the Pluto return on all of us individually. So most of the mythological stories that are connected with the planet Pluto are linked to the Greek god Hades, and he was the lord of the underworld, and he ruled the underworld with a rather tight and unyielding power. And Hades ruled the realm from which people were passing from this world into the another world. And his name or myth and are associated with power, with transformation, with resurrection, the shadow, the riches of the unseen, life and death, and the rebirth cycle. And the most poignant of the Plutonian mythology that is there is the one that he shares with Persephone. And Persephone was abducted by Hades to become his wife and to help him rule his realm. Now, most accounts describe her abduction and initiation into the underworld as an intense process, whereby that she was stripped completely of the life that she knew before in order to undergo a rebirth that enabled her to rise up and become one of the most powerful deities in Greek mythology. Similarly, in astrology, the symbolism of Pluto in our birth charts is associated with similar process of transformation. Now, Pluto transits often accompany periods of in a life that seem to take us down in order for us to rise up back again, and that seems to demand that we surrender every ounce of our power so that we might remember what it means to own and wield our power responsibly. Very heavy stuff, very deep stuff, but the Pluto transit is not going off anywhere soon. And remember, it takes about 248 years for it to complete one little revolution around the zodiac. So it would be worth our while to be looking at the specific areas of our chart and seeing exactly as to where it is that Pluto is transiting, and importantly, also whether there are any hard aspects, transits that are happening along with Pluto. So say for example, if you have a Uranus or if you have a Saturn that is transiting along with Pluto in a specific house for you, then you know that's a clue for you that that is a space that you need to be working on. I'm of course going to be running broadly for you as to which house it's going to be aspecting for you, and then you can of course look at your birth chart and you can see as to which are the additional other planets. So Pluto for you, Sagittarians, is there in your house of earned income. It is the house of Capricorn, and it rules your finances, your values, security, and confidence. So having a transit over here can bring about a lot of financial changes which are related to your sense of self-worth as well. Make you question your values. It can take away maybe what you need for security in certain cases, or even in some rare cases, it can even take away your confidence, and you could literally feel as if the rug has got pulled underneath you. Now, how you can survive this Plutonian transit is that it's crucial that you assess that what you need to feel secure in your life and determine whether it's positive or healthy or not. If it isn't, then work to eliminate it and replace it with something that it is. The more you cling, the harder it can be. So you need to work on making sure that you find you have a positive view of money, that you're not just on a spree of hoarding money, that you're not, you're keeping a complete account, you're being very transactional in your relationships, because this is something that it can come and bite you in a big way. And if you're normally not that financially responsible, it can also sort of alert you, it can aggravate that for you, and it can make you work on becoming more detailed and more focused as far as your finances are concerned. Some of you may need to work on your value system as well, that is true to who you are and that you can live by. So if you have been not been able to connect to your own values, or if for some of you, relationships are just transactional, or if they're completely material, or if you feel that you need to be, or you can buy love, or you can buy friendships, now this is going to be quite a rude awakening for you. But this is also a wonderful time for a lot of you, that to be able to connect to things which are true, which are authentic, and people that are genuine, friends that are there. Maybe you haven't connected with them for the longest of time, but you'll find that there is a deep bond that you share, that they are not the ones maybe you are parting with, or they're not the ones maybe who are picking up the phone on you every day, but they are really people who stand by you through thick and thin. And it's extremely important to be authentic during this transit, Sagittarians. This transit can be more prominent in your life, like I mentioned right at the beginning. If you have another transits, specific a hard aspect to a Saturn or a Uranus, carefully in your birth chart. We have Venus, and she's retrograde as well, and it carries on doing so till about end of January 2022. And Venus rules this house. She rules money along with love and relationships as well. And Taurus is there, and so there is a lot of more oomph to this retrograde and in this specific sign and house. So when Venus moves retrograde, it is speaking about financial priorities, it's speaking about sustainability, it's speaking about material assets, it's speaking about security, and all these areas come into focus for them. And Venus retrograde over here, it could bring about a decrease or an increase in the income, or it could be also an income returning in a way. Maybe you may have lost an account and it comes back to you. Maybe you could have lost out on a business and that comes back to you. And because primarily we are dealing with the house of money over here where Venus is retrograding, it can be that for some of you, because it is also the house of self-worth, that they could be, that you sort of find your lost confidence, or a sense of self-worth sort of comes back to you. And great time to be doing research, great time to be assessing material things or of material value. And I think personally, I remember at one point of time during Venus retrograde, I spent looking at the values of some old things that my mom had been keeping. I didn't encourage her to sell really anything out of it, because later on, of course, I came to know that it was of much more value than it actually was during the time that I was looking at it. So the transit is really a good time for research, maybe having a look at some stuff that you have that you may be just keen to say, or just throw it away, I don't really need it, or maybe it could be there at your parents' place. So good time to be researching and seeing things. April 30th, we have a solar eclipse that is there, and the solar eclipse is there in your house of your work, and it is joining Uranus, which has already been there for the last couple of years, and it carries on being so. So again, maybe there can be some changes as far as your work is concerned, maybe some new business, some new exciting work that you could be doing. Something I would say, tailor yourself this year more towards technology, more towards app-based work, Sagittarians. Because the Uranian energy in the workplace is all about new technology. It also speaks about dealing with a lot of eclectic people at work, people who are really bright, but then could be very hard to retain as well. Eclipses also for you in 2022 are going to be affecting your house of work and your house of behind the scenes. That's a house of spirituality. Eclipses normally take about, the effect lasts about 6 months. So you need to be, you could feel quite polarized between these two. And May 11th, we have Jupiter that is moving into your house of love and romance. Wonderful time to be spending time with kids, taking a break, holidays, spending time maybe collaborating on a great creative venture. And this effect will last till about October 9th, 2022 for you. And eclipses, whenever they happen in a sixth house, you can be more sensitive to the body, either spiritually or physically, because it diagonally also affects your house of behind the scenes. And also just be little careful not to be very rash while driving. Be very, I won't be very, but be a little cautious about, doing risk-taking adventures during this time. It's a great time for spiritual healing. It's a wonderful time for meditation, for retreat, and also a good time to be asking yourself the question during the eclipses is that, am I missing something at my work? Am I missing something at my job? Is there can I achieve a great connection or purpose? And you will this year, Sagittarians, strive for a more soulful work and a more engaged life. And these changes can either be subtle for some of you, or they can be in your face, again depending as to how the rest of the planets are placed in your birth chart. And eclipses in the house of behind the scenes, they often emphasize tending to the soul, taking care of your inner self. And you may experience, some of you could literally experience some soul messages. You could have some vivid dreams, or you could just have a sense of having this deep connect with people, even though they're not people who you really party with or whom you really hang around with often. But as and when the rare occasion is, you could just have this sense of that, I have met this person before, or I can really share my heart with this person. And the outcome of eclipses over here is to become aware of something previously that has been hidden from you, something that has been veiled for you. It could be an awakening of sorts, and this can include behaviors that you show at workplace, or it could be in relationships, in friendships. You could be quite surprised by suddenly that how it is that you didn't notice a certain aspect in a friendship or in your closest relationship or even at the workplace. And it could have been something that may have been unconsciously being played out. A breakthrough during this time, Sagittarians, it can be humbling at first, and then it can lead to being more real and physically present in your life. May 16th, we have a lunar eclipse again in your house of behind the scenes, and this again, the effect is going to be lasting for the next 6 months. Now, between September and November 2022, we have a square between Saturn and Uranus, and this has been going on since 2021, and it carries on till about almost till end of 2022. And for you, it is going to be there in your house of work and in your house of communication. So you could feel polarized in both these areas, and the complete Saturn and Uranus square, it's likely to require a negotiation for change. So both factions may agree that change of some kind is necessary, yet both sides are suspicious and distrustful of the other. So getting to work together with a cautious side of you as far as work is concerned, and saying that no, I cannot trust people. I need to be working on in a certain structured way. I cannot be taking risks. Vis-a-vis with your communication, maybe that you are saying more and you're not able to deliver that. So you may have to, the Saturnian balance will have to be brought in and said that no, I need to be able to see whether I can deliver what it is that I'm promising. And similarly, you need to be watching your speech as well. But staying in the similar situation is not really an option, because the wheel of change has already started for all of us, and especially after Pluto, which is parallel and then conjunct Saturn from 2015 to 2050. And so it's a time of really reaching down, dwelling into our own human nature, and dredging up all the stuff that needs to get transformed. It's necessary, it's inevitable. So Uranus will want you to rush into it and change things, and of course Saturn wants you to go slow, it wants you to plan. So neither way alone is of course a good result, something that you will be happy with. So you will have to compromise and negotiate. Priorities are going to be absolutely necessary during this time. October 25th, we have a solar eclipse that is there in your house of behind the scenes, and November 8th, we have a lunar eclipse again in your house of work. And this again speaks about wanting to just unplug from the world, from all the gadgets, just taking some time off, and it'll do you wonders, Sagittarians. Do keep taking these little windows of mental breaks in between just to rejuvenate yourself. On October 29th, from October 29th to December 21st, we'll be closing the year with Jupiter that will be moving back into your house of home. So you can expect some wonderful times, get-togethers at home, and it's again a time of going back to your foundation, looking at your values, seeing things at work, seeing how it is that you can adapt better into the world, into your relationships. And because for you specifically, the Plutonian transit is happening in your house of income, your self-value, self-worth, you need to be seeing as to how it is or where it is that you need to be transforming. And Pluto loves transformation. It loves it when you're willing to sort of surrender your power. So we must try and remember the story of Persephone as to when we need to be stripping ourselves completely, surrendering ourselves of our power, so that they can be a rebirth of a new us, so that we can completely embrace our power and move on. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Sagittarians. I'll see you again soon.